If you look at the pattern in the tarot community today, you will notice a recurring theme. The third party narrative is almost always twisted. Many readers will label the actual wife as the karmic, while the mistress is framed as the divine feminine. But if you look at the facts alone, the word divine simply doesn't fit. Because marriage carries inherent sacredness, a spiritual covenant, anchored in goodness, godliness, and the inner spark of truth. So being a side chick does not align with that essence. And of course, there are exceptions for people who genuinely don't know that they are a third party. But when you have a gang-stalking side chick who is actively paying tarot readers to destroy you and elevate herself, compete with the wife, or even attempt to harm her, this is a karmic energy at its clearest. And the tarot readers who assist in smearing the wife are essentially karmic flying monkeys. So what people fail to understand is that this is spiritual warfare. A deliberate inversion where good is painted as evil and evil is glamorized as good. So as a collective, they try to normalize this reversal, making the unacceptable seems acceptable. And this is social manipulation. And this language, calling the mistress divine and the wife karmic, is commonly used by narcissists, occult, inverted groups, and people who weaponize spiritual terminology to justify betrayal. It is a distortion of meaning, a calculated inversion. They glorify the forbidden and demonize the one that is upright. So when a mistress is called divine, infidelity gets reframed as destiny or fate, turning betrayal into a romanticized myth. It becomes a manipulative remythologizing of cheating. So this dynamic appears in everyday relationships because many people experience karmic lessons in karmic relationships. But in cases like mine, where this community actively targeted me, spreading malicious lies, and attempted to destabilize my life, what you see is not just toxicity. These are groups that thrive on chaos, confusion, secrecy, covert harassment, and ritualized harm. And their goal is to destabilize reality, erode moral clarity, weaponize spirituality, and glorify destruction. There was a point in their fabricated narratives where the community tried to forcefully cast me as the mistress according to their orchestrated bullshit. And when that angle didn't work, they switched and labeled me as the karmic wife. It didn't matter whether I was the actual wife or someone who unknowingly dated a married person. They twisted any detail they could find, distorting the truth just to paint me as the villain. This dynamic isn't unique to Satanists as a group. Across history and cultures, anything aligned with light, truth, or liberation often gets challenged, inverted, mocked, or twisted, especially by belief systems or individuals who position themselves against traditional spiritual or moral frameworks. So inversion is a symbolic form of rebellion. So when a group wants to reject a moral system, the most dramatic way is to invert its symbols. Like a holy to become unholy, and light becomes dark, and order becomes chaos. It is not always because they believe in evil, but because they want to oppose, shock, or differentiate themselves. It is distortion as a tool of confusion. In mystic and esoteric traditions, confusion is one of the oldest spiritual tactics used to obscure truth. So if you invert something sacred, people start doubting their intuition, moral compass, or connection to the divine. And this reflects a universal spiritual principle that when something carries great power, distortion often attempts to mimic it. Evil rarely shows itself as evil. In many spiritual systems, darkness doesn't present itself honestly. It will often, actually always, disguises, seduces, or makes itself appear logical, acceptable, or fun. This is why harmful things are often wrapped in glamour, rebellion, freedom, moral relativism, or the appearance of empowerment. Often, inversion of the holy isn't about theology, it's about personal pain. Someone who I have never claimed to be perfectly moral. None of us are. We all have our struggles and our flaws, especially when it comes to relationships. But I know myself well enough to say with certainty that I am not the person you have portrayed me to be. The truth is, you can never compare. And I'm not competing with you. No matter how much anyone pays to twist the story.